Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the session. Thank you for joining. It's a beautiful summer day here in Aberdeen, and it is fantastic to see all of you here who have taken the time to join the session instead of joining the sunshine, if you do have the sunshine in your place. We had a total of around 56 people who have registered to this event, and I know that they are coming from all different places. I've got in front of me several places from England, Manchester, Leeds, Bristol, Hertfordshire, Staffordshire. We've got lots and lots of people also from Scotland and from Wales. So we've got some people from the US, from Westminster, and also from the NHS. So that's amazing. And some specialist, I think, organizations as well with an interest in law. We're all here prepared for this talk, and I wanted to thank you all for your continuing interest in this community, which is a free community. It's really driven by our really community spirit and our passion for information literacy, digital literacy, and media literacy. And so it's lovely to see you in the chat, and you're introducing yourselves. Just to say, I am Dina or Konstantina Marzuku. I work at the Robert Gordon University. I set up this group so that we can all meet and communicate, exchange ideas. I think now with the pandemic, post-pandemic, with all the differences we have experienced, it's even more important actually to discuss about these issues and how we can empower students, but also staff, with digital skills, information literacy skills, and media literacy. So this is our community. Feel free to join. It is free. It operates by the global 180 network. Email us if you have any questions, and also we have a YouTube channel where we are posting all these recordings, so you can find other previous interesting recordings. So with that introduction, I just wanted to say that, again, we have a very fantastic, brilliant topic today on the Digital Academy at the University of Law. And I'm very pleased to have two great speakers in the session to talk about their work, which is a collection of self-learning modules that enable students to enhance and develop their digital skills. I think this topic is of interest to all of us, whether we are academics or we are supporting students. And also, I think everybody who works in the information media and digital literacy domain. With the pandemic, we have all been exposed to not only new models of online learning, but also we now know what skills we require, or we are learning more what skills we require and what our students need for their academic progression. So as we're moving into, I think, more hybrid, blended models and all that, this is sort of a new normal in higher education. I think it's really a lot of value in sharing ideas and communicating with each other. So with that, I don't want to really say too much about, my ideas. This is about our presenters. So I'm delighted to have them in this session with us. Matt Carl, who is a senior manager and chartered librarian with a background in e-learning and instructional design. So you can find Matt's background in the session description, but also Matt is really interested in creating engaging and diverse distance learning opportunities, and ensuring that the library at the University of Law adopts a blended learning model, which I think many of you are also adopting at this point of time. And also Louise Worsfold, who is a librarian for the University of Law and for the online provision, I believe. And Louise is also driven by her desire to create this engaging and diverse environment with different content for all different types of students. And also with a language focus. So Louise has found that students sometimes struggle with academic skills, academic writing, structuring their work and embedding resources into their work. So I'm very, very pleased to welcome Louise and Matt in the session. And with this little introduction, we are ready now to welcome our two presenters. So over to you. We'll give some time for you to share your slides, so I'm going to stop sharing for you, Louise and Matt. So over to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Constantina. Thank you very much for that. So, hi everybody. Today we'll take you through the development of the Digital Academy. I'll now start to refer to it as the DA, just for brevity, but we'll have a look at some of the context and factors that led us to creating the project platform, how we laid the foundations for it, and in particular, how we started to embed it into the curriculum of the university. That's where really we found that the most benefit starting to come through from. And also we'll focus on where we are now, and I guess what future developments are on the horizon as well. So over to Louise for kind of just giving you a bit of an introduction into what the Digital Academy is.
Okay. Hello, everyone. So my name is Louise Worsfold, and I'm the librarian and the study skills advisor for the online campus at the University of Law. I work with Matt on this solely. It was called the Digital Academy, but we are now changing it to the Skills Academy, and we will discuss that a little bit later. Back to you, Matt.
Cool, thank you. So what we'll do is have a look at the context. So some of the factors that led to the creation of the DA. So one of the very first one, and there's four main factors that really contributed to it, was the COVID-19 pandemic and its impact on the teaching and learning environment, specifically at the university, but also nationally as well. And I'm sure you're all aware that COVID ushered in a substantial period of online-only teaching or streaming. And this really caused our university, like most, to pivot its teaching to online-only / streaming. And the library service at the same time also needed to take its teaching and learning material online in a significant way. Previously, we did this in a very piecemeal fashion. It was scattered all over the place, so we needed just one place where students could go to access all of the information literacy skills that they needed to develop. In addition, as with most things, the students found the change to online disruptive, and it was felt that ULaw needed to provide additional levels of support to students. Quite a few of them at the time were experiencing, I guess, what you would call a digital skills gap. So, for example, they were not able to access lectures via Blackboard Collaborate. They couldn't interface with the technology effectively enough. And also, they were experiencing issues with accessing VLE, which, again, previously hadn't really been optimized in a way that made information really accessible. It was becoming a bit of a dumping ground. So again, just trying to build those skills to help them navigate their way throughout kind of their academic journey at the university as well. Louise is going to take you through the next couple.
Okay, so I was originally the Chester Librarian and Study Skills Advisor, which was a small university in Chester, and I covered the Liverpool cohorts. But when the lockdown first came, I moved home to Southend-on-Sea, and shortly after that, the Chester campus, it was said that the Chester campus would close. We all went online and we became the online campus. In my previous position at South Essex, I dreamt of a single platform for skills support, both for library and EAP and language support. So this seemed really like the perfect time to initiate it. Matt also had a similar idea. So we started to create this one-stop shop for all your skills needs, a kind of Amazon for students to access and find everything and anything that they need to support their learning. So initially, it was assumed after the first creation of the Skills Academy that somebody in a higher position thought it would be better for us to make a digital-only platform, and they coined it the Digital Academy. They then narrowed the focus to digital aspects which students require in HE. Even though that occurred, we did still keep some study skills sessions running within the Digital Academy. Okay, over to you, Matt.
Cool. So I guess as we integrated the online cohorts at ULaw, we started to interact with the learners. It became evident that we needed to develop some kind of strategy to teach online and to get the students engaging with content. And the University of Law's online cohorts are very diverse. We've got a new undergraduate learners, postgraduate learners, those coming back from previous study after many years. We're also delivering courses increasingly to students over the world, across the world even, and that increases from the age range from something like 18 to 72, being our oldest learner. And they're starting to come from different socioeconomic backgrounds just because of the level of access that increased, and bringing with them different levels of cultural capital, different digital experience and educational levels as well. And Louise, do you want to talk about the expansion of the online campus?
Yeah, so the cohort grew exponentially. We went from 350 face-to-face students to currently over 5,000 online learners, and as Matt said, from all over the world. And this just presented lots of issues. I'm sure you'll recognise them when I say that we're dealing with silent students talking into the abyss, you know, as we delivered sessions around digital skills, such as how to use databases, use of IT, etc. So facing these obstacles, we started to think about the best strategy for us to make the learning experience easier in these difficult COVID times. After experiencing these issues, it seemed to us that it would be really useful to shift the way we learn. So flipping or create content for support services. So flipping that round to focus on the content creation and not allowing the students necessarily to choose what they wanted to do. So we decided that we would use simulations, self-assessment and quizzes to check learning and understanding in all of the work. We decided that all of the information should be visual, auditory and obviously readable, and that the content should engage all of the senses at the same time to ensure a really efficient engagement with what we were delivering. So we laid these principles down in a framework called Try It, Watch It, Read It and Listen, and this became twirl. So now, since then, twirl has become common vernacular. It's morphed into a noun and a verb, so we use it constantly. Have you twirled the content? Are you twirling this content? And that's really stuck now. So we're really using this twirl framework.
Cool. And I'm also sure many of you in this session are acutely aware of the increasingly digital workplace we all have to navigate. And that's also something we wanted to target with the DA as well. Law firms in particular and businesses in general have undergone, I think, a rapid shift to digital working practices, particularly considering the pandemic, and actually preparing the students for the digital workplace and acquiring those skills is actually a real ambition of the DA. We'd also conducted a little bit of research with our alumni network, kind of asking what skills or extracurricular learning they wish they had taken or had the opportunity to take when they were doing their degree, with most indicating that skills or digital skills such as using Office 365 professionally or work productivity tools such as Slack or Monday.com, which they didn't really have much exposure to at university, would have been incredibly helpful as well. And on top of all of that, we also had the Digital Academic Model 2021. Louise,
okay, so it's highly fortuitous for us at that time when we sat down to think about how to create this one-stop shop skills platform that the university was working on its digital academic model, and that tied in with the aims of our project. So we wanted to ensure that the library service responded to this in a meaningful way, and the Digital Academy seemed to encapsulate the full range of principles enshrined in the new model. It also meant that we received buy-in and support from exec level early on, which was very fortuitous, let me say. So we were responding rapidly to delivering the digital academic model a year before it was officially announced. And a lot of the principles in this model, with the exception of assessment, were ironed out or tested within the DA and under consultation with Matt and myself.
Yeah, which is a huge win for the library service being involved in that as well, which is really helpful for our profile at the university. And we also consulted a large range of frameworks, from the QAA course specifications, for example, to law, business, as well as OFS guidance on the skills development for graduates, but also referring to kind of more traditional information literacy frameworks, such as the SCONL 7 pillars, and also the JISC digital capability frameworks as well. And all of these did play a huge role in framing the focus, I guess, and the initial types of skills we wanted to capture or match with the DA. One that might be slightly unfamiliar, which is why we've kind of included it within this, if you're not involved in kind of law circles, is the O-shaped lawyer framework. And this essentially sets out the skills effective solicitors, legal graduates, legal professionals need to essentially display as part of their working practice in the modern law firm. And it allows us to look at skills beyond traditional academia. I appreciate that it's also just for law, but it does actually give us a very good framework for preparing them for future work. And it is worth mentioning because, as we are the University of Law, focusing on the development of future legal professionals and their versatility, this model is really good for kind of identifying the types of skills a modern law firm would look, because increasingly our graduates are asked to interface with AI drafting systems for contracts and wills, and also the traditional secretarial support you would find across most law firms is slowly starting to kind of be phased out as law firms kind of adopt more and more digital working practices. So definitely that one was a really useful one as well. So we'll now have a look at kind of, I guess, our initial response after all of that, kind of what we tried in the starting point, and then we'll kind of have a look at what we've done so far. So over to you, Louise.
Okay, so immediately after the first lockdown, we tried to engage learners in a virtual library space or a learning space, a place where students could discuss their courses and any issues they had. We held drop-in sessions, and we created something called a virtual cafe where students could chat with each other about issues they might be having. And however, as you can well imagine, this was not successful. Students didn't engage, they weren't joining in, they were really traumatized by having to learn online. So in addition to this lack of engagement, it became glaringly obvious that when running workshops or webinars, we could no longer work with students in the moment because we couldn't see what they were doing, we couldn't see what was going wrong, we couldn't see their expressions, they weren't able to ask questions of us. So when preparing any support material, we had to preempt what could go wrong and create content that included everything they may need to know. Additionally, because of the nature of online learning and the diverse cohort that we were delivering the material to, the material needed to be repeatable in small, doable, repeatable chunks. So we decided then to implement the 12 framework into the design of everything we did. Now everything is being twirled. So this meant that we need to have a deeper understanding of the courses. Instead of creating generic support content focused on common errors and issues, we started collecting problems from both tutors and learners and looking at the problems we were encountering as librarians and study skills advisors. So this gave us a really clear idea of what was missing, what we needed to cover, and how we could then align it to the curriculum. So we did an audit of everything. We compared the audit to the issues that we could see, so that we could really finely tune the content we were developing. But that still didn't understand or include understanding the way that learners really assimilated information. And we are still researching that. That's obviously a big topic, but we have found that students really like the multimodal format when learning, and this really backed up our reason for incorporating the 12 model into everything that we did.
Yeah, I do agree with that. So we'll have a look at the foundations for the Digital Academy. So what we kind of is our core, we would consider our core processes. And as part of that, and at the start and also an ongoing process, is the use of the JISC discovery tool. We do use it quite extensively. It's been a very useful self-reflective tool for students, especially as a starting point for their digital journeys and a way of unlocking the content that is found on our site, but also across the university as well, that's kind of held in other areas and beyond too. We do actively encourage students to complete this as the very first experience or interaction with DA. And where students have booked one-to-ones with the library service and with us, we've asked them to bring their digital capabilities report along for us to identify their current skill set and areas for development going forwards, and have allowed us to do those conversations that can help them to identify where those resources are and can kind of develop their skills even further as well. In addition, and then kind of as part of kind of curriculum integration, which I will talk about later, is that we've created a module box in our virtual learning environment. It's Blackboard, it's called Elite. And this essentially allows the tutors to plug the discovery tool into every single course quite easily by just clicking on a resource and it appears there. And it just means that it's visible within their kind of course outline, and it ensures greater engagement from students. And most importantly, that we get more data for the second usage of the discovery tool, which is using it as a way of identifying where those skilled gaps are across the competencies of our current cohorts of students. And the broad picture data is useful because it gives us that idea of where those potential problems are occurring. The slide you can see at the moment is on digital participation, and this was a really low scoring area, which was probably a hot topic and potentially still is back in 2020-21, which again, trying to get students to engage with lectures, online learning was a bit of a challenge. And you can see from this slide that our students were consistently below 50% in most of those areas. And that's essentially the lowest acceptable point that we considered before triggering us to create learning interventions or to create learning content to support some of these activities as well. And we used a lot of this data to frame the initial selection of material and content that went into the actual early stages of the DA. This data, however, only tells us half a story because it's broad picture stuff, and we still sought to consult students face-to-face using surveys, kind of using course questionnaires at the end of the content to really get their opinions on what they thought they needed to succeed. And I think that was really important to capture the student voice alongside this, because this is a lot of anonymity in terms of the data here, and I don't think it tells fully the full picture as well. At the same time, we also started considering podcasts, and this is just a slide highlighting the kind of popularity of podcasts. Most particular, the one to note on here is the 25 to 34 age range in terms of the popularity there. And Louise really led the charge on podcasts, so I'll defer to her expertise in this area going forward.
I'm not sure that I'm the expert, but I really like the fact that we could use the data for what was actually what they liked as well as what they couldn't do. So I thought that was a really nice thing to do. And so you can imagine we created a podcast section on the Digital Academy, and this fits in with the listen section of the TWIRL model. So podcasts were added to the multimodal skills platform, and of course the podcasts come with transcripts and visuals. So for example, we have a podcast on taking open book exams, and this includes a transcript of the conversation of the podcast, and revision templates that students can use to document the content they need for an exam, such as criminal law, the right to remain, on policy making processes. And these are written in really clear visual templates that they can use. So while it's not original to have podcasts with transcripts or anything like that, the fact that we were creating or now what we're now creating touches all of the senses, it will assist learning. So as we deliver to professionals, career-focused students and apprentices who often commute to work, either to various campuses, our campuses across the country, the podcasts are creating a learning opportunity for them while they're traveling. So we're utilizing time, because obviously students are very busy. They have very little time to actually engage in all of the work.
If anybody wants to listen to them, they're plugged into Spotify at the moment via Anchor. So if you can do it, if you're interested this evening, you can always have a look on Spotify.
Yeah, that's a particularly good one. Okay, so we also created mind maps because the project was growing exponentially, and this assisted us ensuring support was aligned to core curriculum modules, and that it acts as a stepping stone to the curriculum. And that means that the process should scaffold the learners' core curriculum modules, which are used as a bridge to help the students tackle all of their courses with confidence. So it means that twirling interventions align to the curriculum and at the same time construct meaning for the learners. Twirling follows the parallel trajectory to the curriculum with the shared goal of success. And another very useful feature of all of this stuff that we're twirling in the Skills Academy is all of the results can be tracked. And this helps to measure their usefulness, and we can adjust according to the findings as we go along.
Cool. So if I just click on this link, I'll just very briefly show you the type of simulation content that we've got within the Digital Academy. So we use Rise Articulate as the main way of popping our courses together. So this is one on Emerald, which is all about advanced searching on that particular database. The reason we like Rise is because it's HTML5 enabled, it reconfigures to the screen as well. And because simulations or even legal databases, some of the databases that we subscribe to, are not the most engaging things to make learning content from at the end of the day, we've tried to make it as interactive as possible with the try stage. So this is, for example, a simulation of just taking you through how to search in kind of Emerald. So you can see you get a prompt. You can't hear it, but there's also audio kind of going on in the background as well. If I click Advanced Search, it'll then take me through the different steps. And we've kind of built those from scratch and based upon student feedback on what they'd like to learn from the database. So again, if I just click on journal articles, off it goes, and it tells you where to search to. That being said, we appreciate that not all students have got the time to do simulations. So we've also got, as part of the watch listen stage, we don't have a podcast yet on Emerald, but we do have a video, for example, which is your traditional video screen capture that we kind of provide to students. And then we're still aware that some students just like to read things. They just want to, download a PDF, which you can do from this, and just read it as they're going along as well. And so we've kind of tried to cater for all different types of, I guess, preference for how students kind of take in information as well. And you can see a lot of this is also audio described to ensure that we're kind of meeting kind of EDI objectives of the University or Equality, Diversity and Inclusion as well. So that's kind of what most of the courses look like and are contained on in the DA as well. So if I just close that down, I'll just pop up a animation now, which Louise will talk about. Let me just sign in. It's going to be coming straight over to this screen very shortly. There we go. And if I press play and then turn the volume down. Yep, Louise, do you want to go?
Okay, so we've incorporated animations and cartoons into the content. So we've got these really, really useful. We've got top tips on how to do things, exam stress, revision techniques, that kind of thing in the Doodly with animations. And we've also created other scenario type things like this. This one you can see here is on Toonly. And it's another animation tool that we've recently started using. It's very nice. And this is an academic part of the academic misconduct demonstration with the cartoon of a teacher and a learner having discussions around collusion. Other software that we've been using is Canva, and we do still use Panopto occasionally, which we've actually discovered as we develop this that we can get quite good data from. But the students really enjoy this type of scenario. They're quick, punchy, if you like, quick and punchy. It gives really good information quite quickly, and it is a really nice way to watch. Really important concept. Yeah.
Cool. So I'm now going to talk about embedding in the curriculum, mainly because that's what I've been doing or trying to do for the last year. And really, when it comes to embedding our content within the curriculum, we've identified a 4-step model that seems to work really well at ULaw. So starting from top left, we've got kind of program directors and academic staff, and that's really engaging with them, having those deep conversations about where we can add value to their courses and where we can kind of engage. We've also got in the top right, sharing of data, and I think that's absolutely crucial with anything like this, because once the tutors see that they're able to get analytical data on how their students are engaging with content, and that really does, again, add impetus to kind of what we're trying to do with the Digital Academy. In the bottom right, we've got program design, and really that's getting involved at every single stage of program design and trying to kind of suffuse our resources and other bits and pieces into the curriculum. And then the final one on there is basically the review stage, which is constantly reviewing the effectiveness of our embedding and if it's still working for students and staff. You'll notice that it's cyclical, and that's really just to indicate that it's not just a one-time shot in the dark thing. You have a conversation with us and then we go away, we disappear into the depths of the university. It's really an ongoing process, and we find that that works really well in kind of just raising the profile of embedding within the curriculum as well. So what we'll do now is explore each of the stages in detail to show you what we think works well in terms of raising the profile of our content and getting it embedded more successfully, and maybe it will generate some ideas at your own institution as well. So really starting with program directors or leading academic staff, essentially, these are the people at ULaw that have the most say in what goes into curriculum design because they're in charge of the design and delivery of each academic program. And it's, again, those individuals that we try to set up regular meetings with to understand their priorities for their course, as well as identify the areas where we can add value or where they see where our role within that course is going to be, and then having conversations about how it could be slightly bigger or how it could maybe work in a slightly different way to what they're expecting. For the academic staff who are involved in actually the direct design of the course, we again partner with them at an early stage, and we try and highlight the type of content we can integrate and also develop for them. Again, if it doesn't exist, they only have to ask and we can design it. And these discussions can go on for several weeks, and it's very easy to lose track of where we are with them. It's also very easy to kind of slip off the radar. So we do keep regular contact, kind of almost fortnightly meetings sometimes when, when it gets to this time of year when they are in the full swing of program design. So just trying to remind them that we are there, we're there to support them and provide value as well. And again, tracking spreadsheets, all of that good stuff can really help in kind of identifying which conversations we've kind of had with individuals, and we're starting to standardize our processes now so that there is a template for each conversation, a little bit like you would get in a normal kind of e-learning firm where they go out to tender to a client in terms of designing a piece of e-learning as well. And at the same time with LinkedIn Learning, so the library service is responsible for delivering LinkedIn Learning at the University of Law. Our content is actually, or from LinkedIn Learning even, is integrated into the staff learning management system at ULaw. And so academic staff can actually experience firsthand the type of material we can provide and integrate, which is a really useful backdoor of getting staff familiar with the type of content we produce and also the different platforms students can access for their learning as well. So it kind of hits two birds with one stone there and means we don't have to, I guess, pardon the expression, reinvent everything all the time as well. We've also tried to, I guess, suffuse embedding kind of digital academy content within the academic culture of the university. So we have a regular spot on the annual Learning and Teaching Conference that we always take up. And that's a really good opportunity to raise the profile of what we do, mainly because all academics are encouraged, strong capital E, to go. And it's usually before the chaos of the September term starts. So we often find a very willing audience. They're always usually fairly relaxed from a jolly away somewhere abroad, somewhere hot. Well, it's quite hot here today. We've also started to appear on the teaching calendar, the PGCHE, which essentially all academic staff again at ULaw, so all tutors are expected to undertake at some point during their time with us. And again, that's a really good opportunity, oops, I'm getting excited there, to make curriculum embedding a part of their early digital teaching pedagogy. And that's a really good thing. And it just means we can have those conversations, and it's bounded by a formal program, so they actually tend to listen quite a lot there as well. So that was a really nice win for us as well. So that's kind of working with program directors, key staff members. Once we've had those initial discussions, and also once we've exposed the staff to what we can do, we find that it's always vital to provide evidence as to the usefulness of our content from previous trials, previous pilots, and also from what our interventions, learning interventions, can do. And the use of data is only getting much more kind of important at higher education level. And so again, we're trying to capture that trend and make sure that we're providing as much data as possible. And we get a wide range of data from the Just Discovery tool. Increasingly now, and we'll touch on this very briefly towards the end of this session, is in the, and I'm going to say the Skills Academy V2, yes, it's changed its name, that we're using Blackboard Analytics data as well, because all of our content should be, by the end of the summer, plugged into Blackboard. So we get the really nice, juicy tracking data that LibGuides just simply can't provide, which is where our current platform is hosted as well. And we also get data from LinkedIn Learning, which is another good source. And depending upon the tutor, depending upon what they want, we can provide this on a monthly, sometimes weekly basis. And it's a really good opportunity to get buy-in from academic staff as well. And the way that we presented that data is we've used MS Sway, because we've actually found it's quite a nice little way of presenting it. That's not a PowerPoint, so apologies, I haven't used a Sway today, maybe next time. And Power BI as well, because that is a really good visualization tool to kind of tell that story of the data. And staff seem to like the very clear formats. They produce the dashboards that they can go in and access absolutely everything from one screen as well. So that works really nice too. Once we've also got specialist roles as well, I think, at ULaw, in the form of the academic coach and the student journey advisor. Now, these two roles are designed to have really close contact with students. So each student gets an academic coach assigned to them from when they start at the university, and also a student journey advisor. We're quite a small university where we are growing. So it does actually give us the ability to do that currently. It's not just like there's one staff member per student, there's quite a lot that they have to manage. But the idea here is that they've got 2 points of contact throughout their course who are monitoring their progress on a constant basis, having those check-in points with them, and also having a look at the data to say, oh, did you engage with this Digital Academy resource? And we found that those two roles were great for raising awareness of skills gaps, so they can tell us what their students are saying to them in those conversations, so giving us that qualitative feedback, and also for signposting our resources across the university as well. So that really does help. But the data in particular here is really good for kind of keeping students engaged and lowering those instances of dropout that sometimes happens. The other kind of, I guess, point that we do is we get involved in program design. And again, this really comes when our content's widely accepted and by a tutor and within a department as well. And so really this is all about engaging with that design process once we've got the foot through the door. And this is where we can really champion our resources, and that in particular, by aligning the content as much as possible to assessment points within the curriculum or module, students engage far more effectively, mainly because that they're in module assessments are supported with a greater variety of material to help them get a higher mark potentially, or to help them figure out how to do something. But also it drives engagement because if it's an assessment point, the students have to do it as part of the requirements for their course. That is a much trickier conversation to have with academics and tutors. It does take much longer to get to that point, but for some of the courses where they have a particular skills module, such as the academic and digital skills module on the undergraduate LLB that we provide, then that is a much easier sell than, for example, if it's appearing on the SQE, which is the solicitor's qualifying exam, which is a new qualification path for solicitors. Again, that is a very time pressured course, so having those appearing in those assessment points is a bit trickier. So it does depend upon the course as well. We also ensure that anything we do suggest is being mapped to the student journey. So those frameworks we mentioned earlier as well, and just identifying, for example, where our content matches up to the QAA framework for law, business, and also some of OFS documentation as well. In particular, we try to make sure that all of the content we design or produce matches up to the PEC framework. The PEC framework basically stands for Prepare, Engage, and Consolidate, and it's a 3-stage learning model that the university uses in all of its courses. And the fact that that's quite a modular design to the learning means we can deploy our content into, say, the prepare stage if it's just getting them ready to do something, or the consolidate stage if it's more reflective at the end as well. So really it's kind of quite a useful model to plug our content into, and so we work quite closely with leading academics within the university to figure out where that crossover comes. And then timing is just crucial, as you would probably imagine, and again it's kind of really important to constantly review what we're embedding. And again, we do try to make sure that again, we get involved at the very first point of design and update sessions for existing modules at a very early stage too. I think, Louise, do you want to say something about timetables and curriculum integration?
We are actually going into the curriculum. We're timetabled in from September this year. So this is really a great thing. So yeah. We are actually, we are in there every week.
Which is a massive, massive bonus, which again, hopefully will carry on in other programs as well from where that's embedded. And then finally, it's just the review stage. And again, there's nothing really revelatory here. It's all about kind of carrying on those catch-up meetings with academic staff to see how the content is working for them, how they think the integration is going, and if there's any way that we can enhance it further as well. Again, doing key data reviews, sending them the data across as well. And one piece that we are very conscious to carry on doing is getting the student feedback to ensure that we don't lose the student voice in all of this. And so what we've done in the past is maybe surveyed students. We've had those conversations in one-to-ones, just asking how they're going, kind of in terms of how they're finding the content. And most of the courses will have a feedback form right at the end as well that they can kind of go and investigate and kind of provide their feedback, so that we have that student voice throughout the entire process. And it's just a case then of rinse and repeat all of that on there as well too. And we probably will send the slides or make them available as well. And so that's kind of where we've got to. That's kind of the curriculum integration. So this is kind of now more kind of where we intend to go in the next couple of, I guess, years, basically. So first of all, Louise.
Yeah, so until this time, most of the work has been undertaken by Matt and I, or a small team of librarians and study skills advisors, and the two of us. And I can expect that you realise now we have a bigger team. We needed to grow. We don't have a very big budget, so we haven't been able to have new staff that are specific to the desires or needs. So the expansion of the team has been a big focus for us. We've been looking at how can we take staff from outside of our small team and develop it. And we used the Belbin test to do this. And this is a really interesting thing here, that we gave them all the Belbin test. to see if we could find a full complement of skills. It got people analysing their own skills and their own abilities, and we now actually have the full complement. We have a whole team aligning to the Belbin test, and this really helps us, the new people coming in, to fully understand. So where we're discussing our strengths and weaknesses and we're working on separate sections, the new staff can really fully understand what we're trying to do, how we're trying to embed it, and it works as a really good quality control thing as well, because people are quite comfortable to accept their weakness. I can't do this very well, so I'm going to hand it over to this one, and it's become a really useful quality control system for us. And we've now also created style guides and justifications for the ideas, which will be used for future or further multiple projects. So we do consider all of the work that we do as a pilot study. We're continually evaluating, adapting, adopting and improving, trying to find new technologies and new ways of delivering information, and continually looking to the future. Our platform now incorporates study skills, digital skills, obviously library and research content, and importantly we now have a language section, and that's not just for the international language learners, but that's also for learners from this country or native speakers who need to develop their academic language abilities. So that's referencing, how to use research, all of those things, and what language they need to develop that capability. And it really hits really well, obviously, with the widening participation initiative at the University of Law. And then just to finish up now, I'm going to pass back to Matt just to quickly end our little discussion.
So yeah, and again, what I would suggest is that we're trying to go for a model that is much more holistic like this. So there's more collaboration online. So it's not us delivering the content, but we're trying to go back a few steps to get that online community going again, so that you've got students interacting with other students and getting those self-fulfilling learning contents going on. Learning communities going on as well. So we're trying to kind of incorporate that, and we're still really, wanting that to happen and getting the students to do a bit more peer learning on the platform as well. So we're currently exploring ways in which we can do that. It's very early days yet. One thing that is happening, like I said, is that the new platform is going to be coming in 2022, so September. And this is going to be version 2. It's going to be the Skills Academy. It's going to be broader. And it's going to use something called the TDM, which is the Training and Development Manager, which is a part of Blackboard, which is excellent for plugging in our content. And what the idea here is that we're going to have all those other support teams in the same platform as well. So it becomes a one-stop shop. And it means that students don't have to go to multiple platforms across the university. They've just got one place that has all of their content. And the great thing about this is that we can start doing micro-learning. We can do badges, certification. So it does give us a lot more flexibility in terms of what we can actually achieve with the platform and make it a really good experience. And because it's in Elite as well, or should I say Blackboard, once they're signed in Blackboard in the main section, then they've got full access to this. So it makes it so much easier as well. And just very briefly, I won't run through all of this, but we've done a lot of thinking over the course of the last year in terms of how we support students in the library service. And you can see that the Skills Academy platform forms a starting point to the entire interaction with us as a service. So we will be encouraging students to go to the the Skills Academy. It's new, the name, so forgive me. The Skills Academy platform first, and then they can then go up the chain, as you can see there. But again, we're not naive. We expect students to come in at all the different points in this journey. But the main point here I'm trying to make is that the essay becomes, I guess, the cornerstone of their learning, the foundation, and then they can go on from there to receive other levels of support. So that's where we are, and we're quite excited about the next chapter. And yeah, myself and Louise would be more than happy to answer questions.
That is brilliant, and I can just instantly say that you have kept yourself very, very busy. It's a very holistic project, and I like how you bring into the analytics. I like the Belbin test and how you use that. That's really a team-based approach. So really, really fantastic. I've got about 10 questions, but I think the audience is really priorities given to the audience, and I'd like to really go in the order that were asked as you were presenting. Emma had a question earlier on when you were talking about the 12 framework or model. I don't know, Emma, as you went through, you explained that, but maybe you can briefly reiterate that for Emma before we move on.
Yes, so twirling is try it, watch it, read it, listen. And we're really trying to sort of attack the senses all at the same time, so they get this really efficient engagement with the content. And so we're forcing everybody to twirl everything. So all of the content that we now create has some kind of try it, so some kind of quiz or matching or any kind of interactive activity. And then it's got read it, watch it, read it and listen, so they can see it, they can read at the same time, they're hearing the words. And lots of the courses that we've created are very, very long. So for example, we've created academic writing skills, and they're, at the moment, we've got 12 sections of the first course, so the basic course, and they're repeatable short courses attacking all your senses all at the same time, and then you can move on to the next one. And they're linked, really well linked as well, so you can actually, while you're doing perhaps paragraphing, you're looking at how to create a paragraph, and it starts talking about the active voice or something, that will link back to the sentence resource, the resource on sentencing, creating sentences using the active or passive voice and that kind of thing. So they're really well linked. And yeah, twirling, just everyone needs to twirl. We are going to release a paper on that. We're working on it now.
It sounds like a motto for the session. Excellent.
It's really helpful. It's really helpful to do actually. It is, and the students really like it.
Fantastic. That's really very comprehensive. Thank you so much for repeating this. Emma had another question about integrating this discovery tool into the VLE, and in Emma's institution, they're using Moodle. So if you can maybe share quickly some tips and around that, that would be really helpful, please.
Yeah, so I think the module box that we mentioned, I think is probably one of the best things that we've done with the discovery tool. Basically, that's just using an LTI link to embed it within Blackboard. We've had to work with our media team to kind of get that authorized so that it sits and opens up in course in the pane. And it means that, again, they're not having to jump out to the actual discovery tool platform. And it's all contained within their course as well. And we find that that works really well because it either comes at the start, so above all of their learning, or it might be a part of, say, Unit 1, Module 1, and the very first activity that they do. And we've tried to encourage tutors to use it as a reflective tool, so to actually say to students, okay, this isn't just a one-time activity that you're going to be doing throughout the course. Why don't you use it, for example, 2 or 3 times, and they've kind of built that into the prepare stage of that PEC model. So they will have, say, every 4 modules or so, or 4 units, they'll come back to the kind of the discovery tool and see how they've developed. And that's actually going to get even easier once they update the discovery tool, apparently. For, I think the update's coming actually in August. I don't want to get shouted at by Jess, but I'm pretty sure it's coming down the line fairly soon. And there'll be a way in which you can kind of layer over the top your old discovery tool, over the top of that, and that works really well. The other way we've done it is we've just incorporated it into the TDM, and they do get a digital badge completion as part of that course, but we've kind of popped our own certification on the top there. And then the final thing I'll say about the GIST discovery tool is in the resources, in the institution resources section, we've basically used the spreadsheet that GIST produced in terms of, because we are a linked and learning institution where that matches up, we've kind of made sure that those links become visible in their report, so they've got that kind of extra kind of connection, and it makes those resources more effective as well.
Excellent. Thank you very much for this very detailed explanation. The next question is by Chris, and Chris is asking, when it came to the reflection of skills levels, did you have to do to establish the ethical issues? Okay, so how did you handle the ethical issues of personal data when it came to the self-reflection of students, their own data?
Yeah, so we have the so as part of our one-to-ones, we kind of have the waivers that we kind of sign to say that, you know, you're happy to bring this report through, you're happy for us to use this kind of data in terms of recommending what we do. We have an insights team at the university which handles a lot of that ethics process as well, so we're able to kind of use them and their expertise to help us kind of craft the surveys, and they do a lot of managing the data as well behind the scenes, and they kind of, I guess, drip feed the juiciest bits to us, and they make sure that it's all locked away in certain sections. So again, we've used them quite extensively, and as part of the alumni network as well, that was done through the insights team too, and again, they were the ones that have those contacts, and it was just a work of a couple of years to actually kind of set that up as well. And then when it comes to the GIST discovery tool, all of that data is anonymized anyway, so the top level data we've been using, you can't see individual students, and it's very difficult to find the individuals within that too. And as part of their student charter, there is a clause in there that says that we can track using Blackboard Analytics and Stream.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Matt. I hope this answered your question, Chris. I'm going to move on to the next one. I think it was Sophia. So Sophia is asking, could Matt repeat please the law framework? You mentioned this earlier, Matt. Yes, I don't remember the name, but I remember you mentioned it. So what was it called again? So
that one was the O-shaped lawyer, which is that one there. Again, that is, I've not actually shared my screen yet, so I'm waffling already about it. There we go. So that's the O-shaped lawyer framework, which is in particular for just like legal professionals. And it's the idea behind it is to design, ensure that wherever somebody goes for client advice, they can expect that their solicitor is well-rounded, and it also relates to kind of how they approach their work as well, so that because there's so many new digital challenges within law firms and there's so many different things that have come out of the pandemic, it just means that they're versatile enough to be able to succeed. And the idea, it creates lawyers or solicitors even that are really kind of effective, they're profitable, and it's just kind of a professional framework that students and also solicitors can do to kind of make sure that they feel, I guess, they're versatile enough for the modern workplace as well. So again, I think that's publicly available on the web. I think it is. But I'll share the link anyway as part of that. O-shape, yeah.
Absolutely, and it's actually very useful to connect it to a very specific framework so that we can see, the sort of overlaps and connections there. Okay, so the next question was about the slides, and I think that you mentioned already that you're happy to share them. Okay, yep. So we're going to be sharing them together with a recording to everybody who has registered. So let's move on to the next question, which is, if I can see, I think Emma is asking a question. Do you have a copy of the type of training you have delivered to staff to assist with digital pedagogy? Which ones do you feel have been most popular?
Yeah, so we do have, so we've run a number of sessions in the past. So the most popular ones have been the ones where you're showing them a new platform that can help with their development. So for example, the LinkedIn Learning ones in particular tend to be the most popular because it's a platform that they can access and can do training on a wide variety of digital skills that sometimes they're not aware that are in there, but there's actually quite a lot of good stuff in for course designers, such as online delivery and kind of creating e-resources. So getting them to engage with those has been really straightforward. And also because of the bite-sized nature of that content, it's really good for kind of lunchtime CPD events, end of week CPD, for where it's like 10 minutes, or do 10 minutes of a LinkedIn Learning course. So they tend to have been the most popular. We've also done, or we did last year, a huge series training session on Microsoft Teams because we switched last year, just towards the end of last year. And as a result of that, we talked about how Teams could be used as a learning tool if they had the I guess, inclination to kind of use it as that. And also Louise does quite a lot of work with, I guess, academics as well, in terms of just showing them what we have on the Digital Academy, Skills Academy, whatever.
Assistive technology is really popular. So they love things like referencing software and stuff like using Mendeley and that kind of thing. Yeah, it's very popular.
But we do have a copy. We've got copies of sessions if you would like to see kind of, I guess, the learning outline and slides as well. I'm more than happy to share those, Emma, at a point. If you just send me an email, I'll pop that. I think I've sent my email as part of this, but yeah.
Okay, fantastic. I think everybody's very impressed with your work, so they are really posting some very positive comments about how amazing it is and how inspiring. I'm sure you can see those. And Jane is saying that you should do a patent on twirl.
We have thought about it.
Should definitely do that. So okay, so I haven't seen the rest. Okay, so let's see. Right, the next question I think is by Helen. This sounds really interesting and helpful. I love the 12 concept. Everybody loves it. So the question is, I was just wondering if when students sign in, do you highlight recommended courses or skills, or is it a case that students browse for what they want or what they are interested in?
So both. But from September, we are in the timetable and it will be really tightly aligned. So for the postgraduate courses in September, we're in discussion now on exactly what's required and how we're going to deliver it. But we are actually timetabled in for the first 16 weeks. So that will be about academic writing, referencing, collating and using resources, various other things, writing introductions, writing conclusions, all kinds of things. And using assistive technology is quite a big thing as well. So we're working on a work smart series of things that learners can do, even just simple things like creating a contents page or creating memory pages, sort of quick fire things for revision, because we have an open book exam system. So that kind of using technology, assistive technology, photographs and audio notes and that kind of thing is really useful. So we'll align that, and that's coming. That's coming.
And also with the new TDM, it has a recommended courses section on the very front page, which we intend to use at key points throughout the year. So introductions to, say, the virtual learning environment, doing research for the first time on the library databases, and we can kind of chop and change those as we need to. And it has a search bar, which, again, being a librarian at the end of the day, is just amazing, because it means students can do searches for courses, and that they can't at the minute, which is a real shame. So that will really enhance kind of their functionality even further.
Excellent. And these days we talk a lot about inclusive education and making all the material inclusive. So I think you have described how you're using all these different types of audiovisual material and how you're presenting the course. Is there anything else that could be added in terms of inclusivity or being inclusive?
Yeah, we do have, I think Matt's probably better at discussing this. We do have other software for visually impaired people, hearing impaired people. Yeah, we do have other things as well. So this is kind of quite generic, what we're talking about here, but we do have. Matt, do you want to just explain those?
Yeah, so we've kind of, we've got courses for kind of all the different accessible tools that we do signpost to students before. So there isn't, well, we will be having a catalogue that's got all of those in there before they even take some of the other ones, so they can get that technology before they even come into the university. We've also tried as much as possible to make the language within each course as simple as possible, because we have a lot of international students, and so again you have to cater for a wide variety of English language skills. We also do all the, you know, I guess the standard stuff, which is like audio description of any text within our course. Where possible, and we do try as much as possible to produce transcripts of videos and captions as well. So just to try and make it as much as, I guess, inclusive. To the only area which we're kind of currently working on is probably, I would say, as a developmental point, is students with very poor internet can sometimes find that some of the courses that we've created, because we've gone for a simulation, it doesn't work as well on their computer because they don't have the bandwidth to do it. So we've started to look at ways in which we could have a pared down course that's kind of much more bare bones, but that still imparts the key information, but doesn't kind of, I guess, break their computer as well. And when it comes to open to all learners, one of the amazing things about the TDM is that it's actually open to anybody. So anybody that is coming to the university can actually go in there and take any of the courses as well, if they want to. So they can actually onboard to the university before they even get started. So you could actually find it on the internet, and if it's publicly available, and you can actually start using it if you want to.
Tell us what you think.
Okay, we have more questions. I think we have one last question because already 5, but the question is, Jane asking, is Digital Skills Academy mobile friendly?
Yes, it is. So LibGuides is not the most mobile friendly software if you've ever used it before. So we have invested in the Lib app plugin for that. So there is kind of a mobile friendly version there. But also when it comes to the new version, which is going to be on the TDM Blackboard Elite, that reconfigures anyway because it's HTML5. And as I mentioned before, all of our courses, because generally speaking, they're housed within a RISE course, are HTML5 enabled anyway. So if you put something in it, it will kind of reformat to a mobile phone screen, which is really important for us to do. And I do have the link, so I can send both links if you want. So you can tell us which looks better, the old or the new. I'm hoping the new.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Okay, I think we've managed to cover a lot of questions, and I think now we are 1 minute past 5, so we are forced to finish the session, but I would like to thank everybody for being so interactive and interested in this talk. I know that we can have a whole hour actually with more questions. So there are more comments, and thanks everybody though for taking part. And as always, you know, if you are interested in these themes, join our community, join our committee. It's open. We are just very passionate about everything. So I think that's all we had for today. Have a lovely afternoon, evening, everybody. And we hope to see you very soon in the next one. We're taking a break over the summer, but we'll come back stronger in September, hopefully. Take care, everybody. Thank you so much to our presenters. That was fantastic and so important work. We've learned so much from it, and I'm sure we're going to be going back to the recording and the slides. So we're going to be sharing those very soon. Right, okay, everybody, so that's all. Take care of yourselves, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye for now.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.